In this episode, in ancient Rome, audiences enjoyed music at the theatre, at banquets, in the arena during gladiatorial combat, and in the street. Music added dignity and solemnity to rituals and ceremonies, and musicians accompanied the Roman legions to war. Welcome to Music History Podcast by Viola Studio channel. Sound the trumpet. The Romans were not great innovators in music, but across their empire a fresh synthesis of musical traditions was achieved. Although musical notation existed by the Roman period, Roman musical culture was largely oral, with professional music teachers directly passing on their knowledge to their pupils, who learned to play their instruments by ear. Range of instruments. Among the musical instruments in use in the Roman world were several forms of lyre, including the seven-stringed kithara, the name of which is believed to be the root of the word guitar, varieties of harp, and pipes. The Greeks are credited with inventing the first keyboard instrument, the water-powered organ called a hydraulis, but it was the Romans who took to this instrument with enthusiasm. They also developed an organ powered by bellows, which over centuries gradually supplanted the water-driven machine. Brass instruments were a prominent part of the Roman musical scene. They included the tuba, a long, thin-wind instrument that we would now call a trumpet, and various types of horn, such as the cornu and the busana. Cymbals and tambourines were less prestigious instruments. Initially associated with the cult of the Asian goddess Cybele, they became prominent in the popular music played by the buskers who performed alongside jugglers and acrobats on the Roman streets. Music for war and worship. In the Roman army, musicians had a well-defined status and function. The trumpet player ranked highest, with the cornu player below him and the busana player of lowest standing. Clearly audible in the heat of battle, the trumpet was used to sound the attack and the retreat. The cornu player was always positioned near the legion's standards during a battle, but the busana was exclusively employed to give signals in camp. In civilian life, the trumpet was also the instrument played at funerals, and "send for the trumpeters" became a phrase synonymous with "prepare for a death." Religious sacrifices, on the other hand, were always accompanied by a piper playing the tibia. Imperial triumphs, religious ceremonies to celebrate military achievement, called for larger-scale musical performances with groups of musicians and choirs. These ceremonies were designed to display the power of Rome. Music for pleasure. Despite these various formal and official functions, music was seen by the Romans as, first and foremost, a source of entertainment. Skilled musicians from Greece, Syria, and Egypt flocked to Rome in search of lucrative engagements in the private homes of wealthy Romans. The host of a house party in a Roman villa would employ musicians to enliven the atmosphere. In the novel Satyricon, written by the Roman courtier Petronius in the 1st century CE, the vulgar millionaire Trimalchio has a trumpet blaring out music at his feast. The kithara or tibia, on the other hand, were considered more tasteful instruments to accompany a meal. Music for the theatre. In theatres, frivolous music was played in the interludes of comedies, a practice denounced by moralists such as the philosopher Seneca and the historian Tacitus, who regarded such performances as a foreign corruption of the Roman tradition. However, such criticisms of a backward-looking cultured elite had little effect on Roman taste for musical theatre. By the 1st century CE, the pantomime, another import from Greece, was all the rage. A Roman pantomime involved the enactment of a story from myth or legend by a single performer using dance and mime, with musical accompaniment provided by a singer and a range of instruments, including panpipes and lyres. The beat of the music was maintained by a percussion instrument known to the Greeks as a kroupaza and to the Romans as a scabellum, a pair of sandals with cymbals attached to the soles. The starting trumpet. The lavish gladiatorial games, mounted in vast arenas such as the Colosseum in Rome, were always occasions for music. Such events would open with a procession led by trumpeters and horns. The trumpet gave the signal to start events, which were then accorded a musical accompaniment by a musical ensemble, shown on one mosaic as including a hydraulis and a cornu. In the later stages of the empire, games sometimes became occasions for mass musical performances. One series of games held during the 3rd century apparently involved 100 trumpeters, 100 cornu players, and 200 assorted performers on tibia and other pipes. This was exceptional enough to have excited much comment at the time. Wealth and status. The demand for musicians enabled them to achieve prosperity and social status. They were organized into trade guilds, which represented their interests and were respected by the Roman authorities. Outstanding virtuosos were sometimes paid fabulous sums for public performances, and substantial cash prizes were also awarded to the winners of music competitions. Among the social elite, performing music was considered a valuable accomplishment. Emperor Hadrian, for example, was proud of his ability as a singer and kithara player. Emperor Severus Alexander is said to have played a number of musical instruments, including the trumpet. After. During the 4th century CE, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. The music of the Christian Church first developed in the empire's declining years. Here the organ, descendant of the hydraulis, is said to have been adopted as a church instrument from the 7th century. And the writings on music by the late Roman philosopher Boethius will be an important source of theoretical inspiration to musicians in medieval and Renaissance Europe. Thank you for listening to Music History Podcast by Viola Studio channel. Please leave us your comments and opinions.